What is going on, guys? Today I'm going to show you exactly what it's like to drive the all-new fully electric BMW i4 M50i. First, we're going to go over some of the exterior details, go over the interior, take it for a drive, do a launch control, and show you, is this car actually better than the Tesla Model 3 performance or not? This is the upgraded trim level of the i4. There's two different variants. The i4 eDrive 40, the base model, 355 horsepower, starts at 55 grand and has a 301 mile range. This is the version all of us want. Starting at $65,900, this is the i4 M50, which comes with 536 horsepower, 586 pound-feet of torque, and can do 0 to 60 in just 3.7 seconds. Now we'll go ahead and pop the hood. This one actually has a pretty impressive range for the performance of 270 miles. If we pop the hood, it reveals a lot of plastic and powertrain components. Unfortunately, we do not have a frunk on the BMW i4, but it is replaced with a massive rear kind of hatchback style design, which is quite nice. 270 miles of range with the 19-inch wheels. You can get upgraded 20-inch wheels, although it hurts the range quite a bit at 227 miles. We've also got some really cool exterior color options. This one, this metallic dark green. There's also a frozen blue and some other really cool options. Open up the rear trunk. Notice we've got a really aggressive rear diffuser for an electric car. Tons of space in here and super easy to load cargo because of that hatchback design. You can also come into the rear of the car and actually lower down those rear seats in order to give you this pass-through with a lot of space. Go ahead and climb in the rear seat environment to show you what that's like. We've got dual zone climate control. We've got climate options back here. Decent amount of legroom, not as much headroom as I would like, but pretty decent sized space back here. We've also got USB-C charging ports, as well as a center armrest. Hopping inside the BMW i4 now, you'll notice we've got these flush door handles for improved aerodynamics, but they actually pull and open upwards like normal conventional doors do. Interestingly, the key looks exactly like every other BMW. I'm kind of surprised they didn't do something different to differentiate the fact that this is an all-electric car. Hopping on into the interior. Listen to the noise the i4 makes when you turn it on. Now we've got this blue start-stop button to signify the fact that it is an electric vehicle. Go ahead and turn it on and listen to this. It's got this concerto sound of sorts. We'll explain more about the different sounds the BMW makes while driving in a little bit. The focal point of this car's interior, other than it's got a plethora of carbon fiber, which is only a $300 option, is this massive curved display. It looks phenomenal and it features BMW's touchscreen iDrive 8, which is fantastic. It has great graphics, super easy to use. My only gripe is the climate controls have been moved from here to the screen. So if you want to raise the temperature, that's easy. It's always sitting here at the bottom of the screen. But if you want to increase the fan speed, I'm boiling right now. You've got to click this accurately and then go ahead and click the fan speed button. Fully digital instrument cluster right here, which is actually customizable. If we click on this button here on the steering wheel, we can go ahead and scroll over to layout, and then we can actually change how the instrument cluster looks, which is pretty cool. Various driving modes to choose from. We've got comfort mode, nice graphic there, Eco Pro, and then my favorite, Sports Boost mode, which has a really cool sound effect when you're accelerating and decelerating. All right, let's go ahead and put the car into drive and show you what it's like to drive the BMW i4 from a first-person point of view. Behind the wheel of the i4 M50, now listen to the soundtrack this car makes when you accelerate and decelerate in Sports Boost mode. So the crazy part is BMW actually worked in connection with composer Hans Zimmer to create this emotionally engaging sound when you accelerate and decelerate. Everyone talks about electric cars having no soul because they have no sound to them. I think this is a very creative solution to that. I love that they didn't do a V8 copy or a 6-cylinder copy soundtrack. It's something totally different, something space age that sounds really, really cool. Now, there's actually two different drive modes independent from all of the different controls of Sport Mode, Comfort, and Eco Pro. If you look at the gear lever, you can actually shift it from D to B. Now, B will actually use the motors to slow the car down and actually recharge using that regenerative braking. And you can use kind of a one-pedal driving technique like in a Tesla, where you don't actually have to hit the brakes very often. So if we're coming up to a light, I let off the accelerator pedal, and the vehicle is slowing itself down to a complete stop. Now we'll go ahead and put it back into drive mode. If you don't like that feeling of the car slowing itself down, regenerating that electricity, you can put it into the normal drive mode, so everything feels like a conventional car. Steering feel is great. It feels like a traditional BMW M variant of their normal car, so like an M240i or an M440i. It's nice and tight. The steering feels great in your hands. I love the shape of the wheel. It's got a nice amount of buttons on it. It actually has assisted driving modes. If you click these buttons right here, if you're on the freeway, it can actually control itself, stay inside the lanes, go around turns, slow itself down, speed it up. It can do self-parking. It can even change lanes by itself, which is pretty cool. We also have a configurable heads-up display in front of me as well. And like I mentioned, you can control the different layouts for the instrument cluster. Now, once we get to the top of the hill, I will show you what that 0 to 60 in 3.7 seconds feels like. I'm guessing that's underrated. I think it's closer, beautiful turbo, to 3.5 seconds. Brakes are phenomenal as well. Now, in the i4 M50, we get upgraded M performance brakes. We also get M adaptive suspension as well. It actually has air suspension in the rear and conventional suspension up front, which is kind of interesting. But the overall driving experience is great. It feels like a traditional BMW. They didn't make it radically different driving-wise than their successful formula, and I'm really glad about that. I'm also glad about the exterior design looking very similar to every BMW that we're used to from the last couple of years, and not being something radically different because, well, it doesn't have to look like some futuristic ugly jelly bean to actually be a good-selling, efficient electric vehicle. BMW proved that. Now, the EQS Mercedes is very efficient, but this BMW has a coefficient of drag of 0.25, which is every bit as good, and it actually looks half decent. Now that we are at the top of the mountain, I'm going to show you what launch control is like in this thing. It actually makes an audible noise in launch control, which I think is very, very cool. So go ahead and put your foot on the brake, and then floor the accelerator pedal, and watch what happens here. Launch control. This thing accelerates really, really quickly. I think we're gonna have to run that back and try that one more time. That is addicting. It's not quite as fast as the Tesla Model 3 Performance, which does 0 to 60 in 3.1, but it feels every bit as quick. Wow. Absolutely no drama off the line, just smacks you in the back and kicks off. The instant torque, all 586 pound-feet of it, is pretty addicting. This car can rocket out of corners instantaneously. And it feels faster than it is because that torque hits instantly, and you get that peak level of G's and acceleration immediately instead of waiting for turbos to spool or waiting for the RPMs to raise into the optimum RPM range for the vehicle. And that added soundtrack is just so darn cool. I'll let you listen to it for a second. Now, there is one thing I wish they had dynamics-wise on the BMW that the Tesla does have. I'll give the BMW the victory in terms of looks over the Model 3. Everyone has a Model 3 and it's a bit basic in design. I'll give the interior quality of the i4 ahead of the Tesla as well. The Tesla wins in terms of outright acceleration. Driving dynamics-wise, I think they're pretty equal in terms of road feel, steering feel, body roll. But the one thing I do really like about the Tesla Model 3 Performance is the fact that it has a variable torque split in that track mode. So we can make the car actually 100% rear wheel drive and pull some drifts. It also helps with the car's dynamics around turns. Now, how often are you actually going to use that? Probably legitimately once or twice, or the majority of owners will never use it. In the BMW, we don't have that. I imagine in the full-fledged M version, they will add some sort of variable all-wheel drive like they have in the BMW M5, where you can switch from all-wheel drive to rear-wheel drive, so you can do burnouts, drift, so on and so forth. But overall, this thing is fantastic behind the wheel, and I think BMW did an excellent job with their first ever full production all-electric sedan. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Like always, please browse the channel and subscribe. I look forward to seeing you next video.